Okay, hi everyone. Thank you for joining us. We're going to get started here in a second. Again, this is our first in-person webinar from St. Peter Prince of the Apostles, and we're really excited for this and to start rolling this out with y'all. So like I said in the email today, we're going to be talking about creating a social media campaign and how to launch a successful one. And the tips that go involved in this, the processes, so we'll go over a little bit of everything. But for those who are tuning in online, I'm going to get y'all set up really quick so you can see the presentation on your window. Okay, so let's get started. There we go. So we're going to start off with a quote. The Manifest, which they are a business guide that helps businesses grow through extensive research and practices. They said the key to social media marketing success is the ability to create winning campaigns that spark growth, engagement, site traffic, and or sales. And I really like this quote because it talks about everything that you really need to dive into personally to launch a successful social media campaign. It also hits all the key points that you need to focus on. And a lot of times for all of us, or for those who aren't as familiar with social media, it can be really overwhelming. There's so many components to it. There's analytics, there's design, there's content, there's copy. And it can get really confusing and overwhelming when you start to dive into it initially. There's also trying to figure out what works best for you and your platforms or for your school or for your business. And so a lot of the times we can get really caught up in trying to find the perfect recipe to make a social campaign work or to launch a successful social media channel. And really it's more diving in and giving your due diligence of researching and seeing really what works for you rather than trying to copy competitors word for word or post for post. It's not going to work for you because you have a different audience, essentially. And so you have to keep that in your mind, that there is no perfect recipe to follow. It's something that you have to grab from your audience and add it to your plan as you go along. So this quote kind of shows what everything we're going to dive into today as we go through setting up a social media campaign. So before we get started, this presentation is speaking to those who have specifically already set up their channels, their social media channels. So if you haven't, we've had a previous presentation on that, and I'd be happy to send it to those who haven't seen it. If you're just joining these webinars again for the first time, I can send you that presentation or the link to view it. That way you can have a good understanding of what you need to have essentially to set up your initial social media channel. So we'll move on to the next slide, which is the why behind your campaign. Let's change this for our online viewers. So the why. So the first step is defining, defining what you want to get out of your social media campaign. What do you want to receive? What is your end goal? Why are you doing this whole campaign for your school or for your business? And what purpose are you going to work toward throughout your campaign? So there are 4 different areas that you can set as your primary goal, which is brand awareness, leads, engagement, and sales. If you've never had a social media campaign before, chances are what you need to focus on are brand awareness and engagement. And really, it's also increasing your community. So those are the first 2 that I would recommend, that we would recommend that you really start with. And those 2 work hand in hand together, which is a great place to start. Can you choose a secondary goal? Absolutely. But you want to be sure that whatever secondary goal you add, it lines up with the primary purpose of your social media campaign. So again, community, brand awareness, and engagement are 2 that I would really focus on from the get-go as you launch your campaign. So you set your goals, you know what you want your primary goal, building a community and engagement. Secondary goal could be sales, could be something that still aligns with your goals. you have those two set, and now it's time to map out what do you want to receive out of it. What are your goals for at the end of the campaign? You can look at it and say, these are the goals that I satisfied. These are the goals that I marked off. And so others can include how well does your audience connect with you and who is engaging. So along with having these goals, it's time to turn them into numbers. So you want to set measurable goals. At the end, you can look at these numbers and say, yes, I hit these numbers. It was a success. We can now go on from here. So let's assume that you chose building a community, and your second goal was increasing engagement. So turning these goals into numbers just means having specific metrics for these goals. So specific metrics, for example, can include how many page likes do you aim to earn each day, each week, each month, throughout the entire campaign, and purposely lining these out for you to see every day as well as at the end of your campaign. Another specific metric example would be what percentage of page likes are from the people who match your audience personalities. Trying to get a really good understanding of who your audience is and their personality. What do they most, what do they have a heart for? What do they connect with the most? That's really important in understanding throughout your campaign. So another word for that would be how many likes are for people who are likely to become either customers for a business or parents of students who eventually could attend your school. And a third example would be what percentage of your community is engaging with your content by liking, by commenting, or sharing your post. So just for an example, these are numerical metrics that you can set up at the end of your campaign. For example, 10 new page likes per day would be 450 likes by the end of a, let's say, for example, 45-day campaign. And 90% of your likes come from your potential students or parents of students. Another really good key metric to hit would be 50% of engagement comes from your audience. You want to have engagement. You want them to see your content, to like it, to engage with it, comment on it, because this increases the visibility of your content. So having these numerical metrics is really important, because this is really how you're going to know if your campaign was successful. If you didn't hit these goals and it wasn't successful, it's time to go back and reassess and see what you can do differently next time. So having these is extremely important from the get-go before you even start launching your campaign. Another thing that I didn't mention is ensuring that your metrics align with your brand. So even having a small goal from the very beginning, like 10 page likes per day, is still a really good goal to have throughout the day as it increases. But just ensure that your goals line up with your brand or what your campaign is aiming for. So now, selecting social media channels. So campaigns are intended for cross-channel promotion, which cross-channel just means having the same content go to various different platforms. Of course, you would change the copy, which is just the verbiage of your post to fit that channel. But your campaigns are intended to be cross-channel. So you want to stick with 2 to 3 channels and really gauge what's working best for you. You don't want to dive into a new social media channel that you've never dealt with before. You have no idea how to work it. You don't know what is the best type of content for that channel. So really hone in on 2 to 3 channels. I would recommend 2 to start with. And that could be Facebook and Instagram, for example. And really gauge what am I going to work well, or what is going to work best for me. Because the last thing you want is starting a campaign on a social media channel that you have no idea how to work, that you're constantly having to research, how do I use this? You want to use what you're most comfortable with. So if you don't have enough social media history, of course, find what is best for you. If you have limited resources, the best thing I would say is find 2 channels that work hand in hand together, which, like I said, would be Facebook and Instagram. Those are the 2 that have the same type of elements, the same type of control. That way you have a good understanding of both, and you're not feeling like you have to learn a whole new channel from the very beginning. Another example would be, this would be a bad pair to have, LinkedIn and Facebook. They're completely different social media channels, have completely different audiences. You would have to really tailor your content or LinkedIn completely differently than what you would do for Facebook. So not a good pair, but like I said, Facebook and Instagram would be a great pair to have. So choose those social media channels and find what really works best for you. And like it says, if you aren't sure, research a competitor and see what they've used in the past. So you've selected your social media channels. This is kind of where I think all of our schools are at. They have their social media channels. They have this consistency of posting, but now it's time to create a style guide essentially for your campaign. We've done a presentation on this in the past, but I'm just going to give you a kind of a quick run through of what it means to have a style guide. We really love to use style guides in our line of work because we manage various different social media accounts, and so having all these different brands, having that style guide really helps us stay on track and not fall off track with different postings that we do. But having one even just for your select school is really important because posting on social media every single day can get overwhelming. If you have a post that you want to upload, you're going to be posting multiple times a day. It's really easy to get off track with style, with colors, with content, with copy. Even if you have various people monitoring your social media channels, you might respond to a comment in some way. And the other person who has access to your social media channel might respond to it in a different way. And we may not think it, but it's really possible for an audience to recognize that it's two different people talking. And you never want that. You always want it to be one consistent brand. So having a style guide for this purpose really helps you in a sense. That way you don't lose control of your content, of your copy, of everything. You have a really good sense of what you want your social media channel to look like, what you want your content to look like, and how you want it to be presented to your audience. So step number one, develop a set of rules and policies to maintain a brand. That's really important. We create ours just in Canva, our style guides, just like a presentation like this. And we dive in really deeply into colors and logos, what colors you want to be used with. How should your logo look every time you post it onto a graphic? Like I said, wording, describing your company, describing your brand, describing what your school has to offer. This is a great place for you to be able to ensure that all your content hits the same goals. So maybe your school is dual language. Having that incorporated into your copy, into your verbiage, that way it's transmitted to your audience. That way they understand that, they recognize that you offer this is really important. Next thing would be, like I said, interacting with your audience. What does your tone of voice sound like? Is it professional? Is it casual? Is it always happy and upbeat? It really can vary from school to school. Like we have various clients that we manage, and so some clients are really happy, really upbeat, really playful in a sense of how they respond to their audience. Others are very professional. And either one works. It kind of just depends what works best for your audience or for your school. It can go down as far as capitalization and punctuation, post format, customer service responses, which is just audience responses, or even handling complaints. Even if you have a comment on a particular post, or maybe a parent is complaining, how are you going to handle that complaint? You can actually put that into your style guide. That way, across the board, anyone who's monitoring your social media accounts will know that that is the correct response to use. So after you create your style guide, you know this is what you want your campaign to look like. You know that these are all the key components that you want to have in all of your posts daily. You want to be sure that your business page, your school's page now aligns with those. So once you create your guide, I would do a really thorough audit of what your page looks like at the current moment, and change what you need to. Change the verbiage in your about section, change your profile picture, change your cover photo, and roll out from from when you start your campaign with everything that lines up with your style guide. And so just that way you know that your business page continues to align with your goals, and you kind of essentially have a clean slate to roll out with. plan content ahead. This might be the most important, or one of the most important, really, of having, or for your social campaign, a content calendar, which we talked about this before. I think everyone has had a good understanding, but if you don't, a content calendar is like an editorial calendar. It's having a month-long, however far ahead you want to plan, but having a calendar essentially of all the postings you're going to do for that month, for the next 2 weeks, however you want to schedule it. That way you can really see what is going to go into your campaign, what essentially you're going to feed into this, what type of content. And in this content calendar, in planning ahead, you can see into the future of, oh, so today I'm posting a photo, tomorrow I'll switch it up by posting a video or a graphic. And having this really gives you a really good sense of control. Like I said, social media is a really interesting, complex channel, a sense of, or a sort of media. And so having really good control is really good because it can get really overwhelming. And so this helps you to have a really good handle on it. So, for example, for what we use, you can just start by creating a simple Excel spreadsheet, having your date, having your topic, and even going as far as planning what your caption is going to say. You can go into detail of this is going to be a graphic, this is going to be a photo or a video, or it could even be curated content. Whatever you want to feed into your campaign, this is a great way to sort this out and get a really good handle on what you want to go into it. As you go along through your campaign, as you develop ideas and choose content, we'll go into this later, but having this calendar is really important because you can go back and reflect after you match it up with your analytics, with your engagement, see what's working best. You can go back into your calendar when you start a new month content calendar and say, well, this is the post that worked best. Let's duplicate it, replicate it next month in a different form. So having that lined out, having that written out for you to see really helps. That way you can plan for your next month. You can also incorporate a set of hashtags. So we talked about that before and how hashtags are really important. We use a set of hashtags for our clients for different ones. And so having this planned out and lined up on our content calendar is really important. That way we know which set to use per post. Keywords. So keywords can be lined up or displayed in your style guide. And so having a set of keywords is really important. That way you can put this into your content calendar and ensure that it's going into your copy, into your post daily, and you're hitting those keywords every single day. And what content are you going to share? So, of course, on Facebook, even on Instagram, you can share other content. This is a really good way to plan ahead in the month of what kind of content you want to share. And having all these kinds of questions as you're mapping out your content calendar is the greatest way to keep your brand consistent, to keep your social media campaign consistent throughout the months to come or the days to come, however long your campaign is going on. And it's a great way to match up your analytics into this and see what is working best for you. And so we can surely give you a copy of what a content calendar looks like. You to really get a good sense of how detailed should I really be going, what's important to have in this spreadsheet. And that way you can kind of copy your own content calendar for your school, for your specific channels from there. So in a little bit, we'll talk about analytics. That way you get a good sense. But now we're going to talk about budget for social media advertising.
All right, so for diving into the advertising piece for social media and what you want to do, you really want to use this to enhance what you're already doing organically, what you have planned for the editorial calendar and everything that you can do to add on. The advertising piece is significant when you're trying to do things like enhance a fundraising campaign or increase enrollment at a particular time. So you can look to use those ads really when there's anything specific that you want to advertise, where you want to get higher traffic or fundraising sales or things like that. So first and foremost, it provides specific ways for you to navigate through the creation of Facebook ads. You can do this with any of the outlets that you choose. It really helps you to determine what you need to do and what goals you have, how to set up those ads dependent on the goals that you're trying to achieve. So rather than blanketing with any of the ads that you have and just sending it to making sure everyone who's on Facebook sees it, you really want to dial in that audience and determine who you want to reach, whether maybe it's parents or grandparents, maybe it's those who have children who are coming up on the age of getting into a school. So you can really drill down and select who you want to connect with for the particular ads that you would like to produce. So ask yourself a few of these questions. Who are you trying to reach with the ad? Are they consistent with your audience? So there's an option in Facebook and Instagram that is called the lookalike audience. So if you have an audience that on your Facebook page who is constantly engaging, it's probably the fans and followers who you already have. You have the option to create a lookalike audience where it will not be targeting specifically the people who you already have that relationship with through social media, but those who are very similar to them in every kind of demographic. And you can reach those people either to increase the likes on your page or followers on your account. You can reach those people in order to be a part of a new campaign that you've created. So that is the specific lookalike audience that will, where you can connect with people who are already, or who are not already in, on your social media following, but who are similar in nature to those who are. Are you trying to reach a new audience? So if so, you want to determine what that audience looks like as far as gender, age, interests. It gives you a variety of options, where they live regionally, where they live, through zip codes, through particular smaller suburb or city area. So there are many options that you can choose from to further create a niche audience if you're really trying to get in your particular school's area, or you're wanting to reach the city as a whole or a particular part of the city. You can drill down and include that information. How can you best engage the audience through these ads? So the common thought that, and research that has been done for ads that are used on social media, are that people who are looking at the camera and front facing, that is one really great image to use when trying to achieve results with ads, as well as babies and children and animals. Usually puppies and dogs and kittens are the best ones to achieve. So if there's some way that you can use one of those types of images when you're creating your ads, that it usually produces better than something like a action photo of someone running, or just like a particular scenery photo, because it's something that people can connect with. And those types of images that people are drawn to the most. Videography is another one of those. So they give the option to use videos and different, essentially commercial spots that you can input into the social media ad. Because of the interactivity with the eyes, that's one of the things that appeals to people more so than static photos even. So video or one of those types of images is the best to use when creating an ad. Definitely the lower performing ones are text only ads. While you can use them, you'll probably find that they will not achieve the same type of results. But for the ads, you also want to really think about what's working and what's not, just like with your organic campaign. So you can do a test ad, and ad budgets can vary significantly. So you can do something as short as a couple of weeks and just spending like $5 a day on the ads to increase your social media likes, or try to get more eyeballs on the next fundraising campaign or enrollment opportunities. And you can test that out for a week or two to see if it works. If it's not working, if it's not getting clicks, if it's not getting the results that you intended, it's probably a good idea within that first week to try to change and move either to a new goal option or to a new audience. So you also want to think about if you're doing 2 ads at once that are targeted at different audiences. Facebook does not like it when you or they like it just fine because they're making the money, but when you have 2 competing ads that are basically to the same target audience. So if you have one thing that's just a little bit off, if you have like 25 or a demographic that's ages 25 to 42 and another one that's 30 to 42, you're really just competing against yourself. And some of those ads, they're called cost per click. So every time the person's clicking on the ad, that price can vary and will just make your ad more expensive. You're basically competing against yourself to gain the same audience. So if you're going to try a different type of ad or a different demographic, go for something that's like 25 to 32. And then if you want to shoot for a new audience that's still in the same range you're trying to reach, maybe a 33 to 42. That's just an example for your age demographic. The same goes for interests and gender and anything else that you can use to target that specific niche. Another cool thing is that you can use interests when you're creating the advertisement for any of the social media. So what are people interested in? What kind of clubs are they in? What groups are they in? You can target ads specifically to different Facebook groups. You can also do ads in Facebook that show up through Facebook Messenger. So it appears within their messages like someone is reaching out to them directly, which is a clever way to do it because you're connecting with them more one-on-one, and you're able to get that message in front of them. Those are usually not filtered out because they are paid for, and it's usually through a specific third party or a Facebook group that has a common interest. So you want to keep your advertising on track with your goals that you set previously. So this is in a couple of different mindsets, right? So you're wanting to achieve the goal or create goals that you have through advertising that will support the goals of your overall for your schools. And you also want them to align with the goals that you have for your social media campaign in general. So is it creating more engagement? Are you wanting to have more, it literally asks you when you're going through the ad setting process, do you want more people commenting on the post? That you can boost a post. If there's one specific post that you want to showcase that you want to pay to be seen more, it asks what type of, you can label the type of interest you want them to have. So if you're wanting to increase engagement, and which will then allow you to have more folks see the post who may not have before because of the comments that are being made, then Facebook has such an algorithm that it can really drill down to get people to comment on that post, or if you're just wanting more reactions for someone to like the post. That's another option too. And if you want to engage more with the community, which I'm certain is a goal of many of the schools, that's certainly a way when you boost a post or have an ad where the goal is to create higher engagement or comments, you have that opportunity to go in and respond to those comments. So take that opportunity as well to respond to the things that are creating results for your ad. I think it's the connection. Can you see it on your computer? I don't know where it's.
Don't worry about it.
So the next key part after you have established the ads that you're going to generate is to find the tools that you need and create a workflow that will work best for you. You want to think about what will work from the get-go and ensure that you have a steady schedule and design and measurement in place. So really think about what works for you. Take advantage of really drilling down and paying attention to the things that seem to get more engagement at first. And you'll be able to have a good knowledge of the things that are creating results. So once you find the design that seems to work well, of course, like we mentioned, it's something that should align with the style guide and your brand and the personality of the school. You'll really want to stick with that and make sure that the brand is consistent. When social media first kind of blew up, one of the things that was appealing to people who were using it and who were connected with it was the fact that you could see behind the scenes, that you could pull the curtain back for people who didn't know what was happening, either at the schools or in businesses or the person whose day-to-day life that they were interested in seeing. So that was kind of what was important at first. It's morphed into more of something that's important, that the things that are key to engagement and to really connecting with audiences is that consistency of branding and quality. So when you're creating that design, you want something that's memorable, something that connects, colors that really draw people in, and images that are appealing. For the analytics, we'll showcase the specifics of those in just a moment. But the things that analytics provide basically answers the question, what are you looking for in your measurement process? Some of these, the examples of these may include impressions, traffic, engagement, like we talked about, getting more likes, getting more shares on the posts, or enhancing the comments that are being made. So really, what's most important with your analytics is that you take the time up front to define what success is to you. Is success having posts that are always commented on? Is success having engaged posts or tweets or Instagram images that receive a certain number of likes? Is success getting those clicks and making sure that people are clicking through, getting those web clicks and visiting the website more? If you do videos like Facebook Live or even those that are pre-recorded and posted, would you define success as having people either watch them partially, fully, or actually interact with the video? These are all options that are given through analytics in the different platforms, namely Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. So for scheduling, something that's really important to keep in mind is, again, just tracking it from the beginning or as you continue to post, and figuring out the best times for you to post that will receive engagement. You can actually go into the resources provided by each of the social media platforms and look at when your audience specifically is online on those platforms by the hour. It will showcase essentially a graph that shows you when you have more engagement, when you have less, when people are on Facebook, when they're not, or the other platforms as well. And then a little bit of it is just trial and error. So if you're posting, the way you want to think about it is probably also like when you jump on social media. Typically, many people, it's the first thing that they look at when they get up in the morning. It's the last thing they look at before they go to bed. And then those lulls in the day where they may be at work for a few hours and be getting a little stir crazy, and then they want to go through social media. And anytime they have a break, maybe lunch break time would be a good time to post. Try and figure that out just by looking at the times you post. Be consistent for a week or so, posting a post at 7 a.m. and a post at 4 p.m. and see which one gets better engagement, which one has more impressions or more interactions and comments. If something that you're posting, or if you post at a consistent time each day for a week and there are no interactions or engagements with it, with those particular posts, consider changing the time of day that you post it. We've even experimented with, and successfully with some of the pages that we manage, posting real late at night, like at 11 o'clock. And while you will not be able to respond to comments immediately, if you have that post scheduled, if it's getting better engagement, then maybe that's a time that you want to think about creating that post, and then you can just respond to all of the comments the next morning. Or you can have, if it's something that's going to generate messages to the page, make sure that you have an auto response on within your social media platform that will say that it's not your office hours or not the time that you're checking, but someone will get back to them as soon as possible. So really just test out those times, because it will vary from school to school, from social platform to social platform, and you want to determine and figure out what works. Each platform is pretty different too, because like with the algorithms change constantly. So sometimes people won't, not everyone in your audience will see the post when you post it. However, if you have that good chunk of folks within your social media following who are the constant engagers, and you can figure that out, it's great. With Facebook and Instagram, sometimes they'll rotate those posts, and you'll post it on one day and it may show up in your feed as you probably experienced before. If you're looking at your Facebook stream or Instagram, you'll see something from 3 days ago that you think was posted that day, and then you think it doesn't make sense, and then you realize that it was an old post that's just being refiltered through your stream, which is helpful for impressions, particularly when it's not excessively timely, but it can make a difference of when people are interacting and engaging with it. With Twitter, everything's in real time, so that one is one where you can be a little bit more active and post a little more. You don't need to post more than once, maybe twice a day on Instagram and Facebook. But Twitter, you can post much more frequently, because they do now have it, in case you missed it, but many of the rotations of those tweets are not as recycled as on Facebook and Instagram. They're generally like that same day. It'll show something that was posted a few hours before, and that, in case you missed it, feed, but usually it just lasts for about that day. So it varies from platform to platform, varies from page to page and account to account, but it's something that you definitely want to test and see what works well and best for you. So the next piece is to measure consistently. Once your campaign is launched, the most important tasks come into play, and you want to be able to really dive into those analytics. We have some different samples of them. You want to be able to monitor the audience and really look at who your audience is. So we have, it's interesting to see, again, things will vary from different social media platforms, from Twitter to Facebook, and from school to school, as far as who the audience is. So while you may think that your audience is predominantly female when you're reaching out to the decision makers or for programs or different offerings that you have at your schools. But you may look on your social media audience and find, well, if I'm communicating on Twitter, it seems to be the analytics can tell you maybe it's 60% male and 40% female who are engaging with you on Twitter, and then like 80% female and 20% male engaging on Facebook. So now we have some examples here of what those different analytics will look like. So you'll see that we have the breakdown. This specifically is from Facebook of what the demographic is for one of the accounts that we manage. So you can look at, if you look across the top, it has your fans, your followers. So these are people who like the page. The followers are people who actually follow the stream. They don't necessarily have to like the page, but are essentially subscribed to the page. People who you reach, and then people who are engaging with your posts. So you can click separately on each one of those when you're drilling into your own analytics for your page, and actually determine the difference in those, which is really interesting if you're looking at people who are seeing it and then people who are actually engaging with it. So you may find that there are more 25 to 34-year-old females who are seeing it, but more 35 to 44-year-old females who are engaging with the posts. So it's just an interesting thing to look at. You can see here that they do an actual breakdown by percentage of the different age groups who are, and then again, the same thing for each of those topical areas. It helps you to really know who you're speaking to, and that will then help to change the language or the verbiage that you use when you're communicating on your social media accounts. So again, maybe Twitter or is more predominantly male audience for one of your schools, and then the Facebook may be more predominantly female. So you may want to use a little bit more feminine and nurturing language when you're posting on Facebook, and then thinking about using more masculine language when you're posting on Twitter. And that's not to say like Twitter will always be more predominantly male and Facebook will be more predominantly female. Just one example of the way you might look at your analytics. Another piece that is distinguishable are the performances for the individual posts. So this one in particular is the example of a video and the performance on that video post. So it shows you the number of minutes that it was viewed. This was pulled, I believe, just a couple of days after the video was posted. The video was fairly short, 3 to 4 minutes. So it means perhaps people either partially watched, we could have a few hundred people who partially watched the video, or 100 people who watched it in totality. There are different, some people who, when you're scrolling through and the video just automatically pops up and comes on, that's where you can see those 3-second video views and the 10-second video views. Those are probably the scrollers who don't stop to watch, but just it pops on automatically. And then the average video watch time. So ideally, if the video is a little bit longer, we want that to be a longer period of time than 14 seconds. So you want people to be engaging and be watching. Either, it's usually like a 90-second video is the maximum amount of time that you want to create something that's been pre-recorded for things like Facebook Live, Instagram Live, and Periscope on Twitter. You want those to be a little bit longer to give people time to engage. We usually recommend about 7 to 20 minutes. So if it's 7 minutes long, you're at least giving people time to get on there and figure out what the content is about, and they can post. And up to 20, just because once you get, it's not to say you can't go beyond 20 minutes, but you begin to lose attention span after that time, or may just get partial views. And if you're repeating some of the information, or it's like a newscast style or an interview, maybe that's okay if you're getting partial views, because at least you're having people getting on and watching the pieces of what you're showcasing and creating. So you can look a little bit further into the different video posts and see in totality at the end of the month how many views, which I think is a really interesting analytic to look at, how many people actually viewed videos overall versus how many impressions that you had. So a lot of times those videos will really boost impressions because it's one of the more interactive pieces on Facebook and Instagram and Twitter. So people have a tendency to watch these more than maybe like a commercial spot or video that's just thrown into the mix, or to see them more than something that's just posted via text, because it's more engaging for the eyes and for the ears. So just looking at how much video can contribute to the impressions and overall reach for your page is great. This specifically showcases a post by post breakdown of what the reach and engagement are for each of the posts. So you'll see a breakdown of, it has the type, which is either video, image, or text. It has the targeting, so all of these are to the audience in totality rather than a specific niche audience. That's drilled down even further than the audience that you have. We have the reach, so the number of people who see and are reached by each post, and then engagement, which is the number of people who are engaging with the post. That's a really important one to look at because you can discover what is a little bit more, what works best, what people are tuning in for, what people are clicking on, what people are commenting on. And you can see there's a significant difference. It goes from, there are some posts that have 0 or 1% of engagement, while others have 12%, which may not seem like a huge number, but in Facebook numbers, it's fairly large. You can see that one of the ones with the greatest reach was a video. Again, videos typically do a little bit better as far as interaction goes. It reached almost 1,900 people and had a 9% engagement. So that just means more people saw it, maybe a few less people engaged with it. But this isn't a really good analytic to look at when you're trying to determine what you can replicate for continuing on in your editorial calendar for all of your different platforms. If you see that there's constantly one, if you have an evergreen post that you're posting over like maybe 3 or 4 times a month, about a particular promotion or events happening, and you're saying that it's not really getting engagement, maybe switch the image that's not getting engagement either to a new image or to a video with the same message. So now we're going to talk about a couple of social media campaigns and case studies, just to give you an idea of some creative ways that people have used their campaigns for good and to really enhance what they're doing with their social media. The first is a campaign that was created by I Heart Dogs. They actually ran a campaign, an advertising campaign where they gave 0% off for their Black Friday special. They thought that it would be a clever thing to do, one, because it's something that's not typically done. You don't see specials that are giving you no special at all. But rather than giving nothing, or giving a discount, they actually talked about what they were doing for good and what they were going to do in order to replace maybe giving someone a discount. They made a goal to committed to dogs in need to help give them the meals that they needed, and said that they would double it from rather than giving the discount to the people who were purchasing their products, that they would give more in contribution and in donation to the purchases that were made. So they flipped it around, and who knew what the result would be, but they ended up quadrupling their sales between Black Friday and Giving Tuesday, that following Tuesday. They doubled the goal of their expectations, which they showcased to their consumers as being 100,000 meals. They were able to donate 200,000. And they had 500,000 people reached on Facebook alone, just because it was a unique campaign. You know, they created something literally out of nothing, out of no discount. And it got a lot of people talking. It got a lot of people engaged, and it followed through with what their core values were, with what their brand was, with what was important to them, and what their personality was. Some of the comments are included on this slide about people who are grateful that they didn't give them the discount, and that instead that they were able to increase that donation. So some of the key takeaways from this particular case study are when you're thinking about unique things to do with your own social media campaigns, to do something that's not always expected. Maybe divert from the typical routine social media calendar. What kind of ideas do you have that are creative, that can get people talking? If you're going to do something like I Heart Dogs did with their campaign, don't forget to explain it. So don't just say they didn't just say they were giving 0% off. They said they were giving 0% off so that they could give more to the causes that were important, not only to them, but also to their consumers. You always want to build social good into your social media campaigns to attract attention. So public relations in and of itself, which social media is a really big part of, is essentially the act of relating to the public, but also the act of getting caught doing good. So if we're able to showcase the good that we're doing and humble brag about it, and also do that good to be able, so what they did, to be able to double those contributions to the dogs in need, really, they put their money where their mouth is. You want to plan and be prepared to take advantage of holidays. So this is a good one to think about, not only for traditional holidays, but also, you know, there are a lot of like National Lunch Week. National School Lunch Week is in a couple of weeks, so that's something that you can highlight on social media. You can really get your school engaged in different ways, get video coverage. You can think about ways that you can highlight that when it's not a traditional holiday. It doesn't always have to be. There are so many kind of created food holidays or appreciation holidays, those types of things. So really be able to take advantage of those. Look at, just Google national days, and you'll find many lists that you can create attributed holidays to, and get creative with those and plan for those as well. You want to have well-designed ad creatives to stand out and show your professionalism. So again, think about what you can use to engage and what will draw those eyes, and use new and creative ideas, something outside of the norm. Set goals and measure results. We talked about that a lot, so you can dig into those analytics, make sure that your goals are aligning with that the ad campaign goals or the goals that you have created are aligning with your overall goals for the school, and make sure that you can identify if those metrics have been met. And then showcase how they've been met once you complete that campaign, like they did by sharing that those 200,000 meals were donated. Remember to value the quality and not just quantity. So think about, that comes into consideration when you're thinking about the comments that are being made. What kind of stories are people telling as a result of your posts? What appreciation are they giving? What feedback are they giving? What kind of comments are coming in full scope that are giving you the replies that you need to really showcase that people understand the voice, they understand what your values are, and they're responding to the post and the campaign overall. And then make it easy for customers to act, really. This one specifically was to buy from their social media posts. But really what you're doing is finding a call to action. So what can you do to make it easier and more accessible for people to connect with the school, whether it's for any one of the reasons you may want to draw people in. Enrollment fundraising, I know I keep mentioning those couple standouts, but anything you may need for people to really act on, how can you make it easiest for them to do that? Social media has made so many things accessible, so you really want to be able to do all of these things, stand out, do good, and make things easy for your end user. We'll talk about one other case study for you.
So another one that we found really impressive, and that I thought was a really good, successful model of what it takes to have a successful social media campaign. Lowe's did their Lowe's Fix in 6 social media campaign via their agency. But what I really like what they did was, everyone knows Lowe's for being the place to go to buy the tools you need to do DIY projects, to fix something within your house. But when they see Lowe's, they see equipment. They don't necessarily see a finished product. And so I liked that they were able to differentiate their campaign and show that they're not just the equipment store, but something that you need to consider to actually accomplish something. So what they did was they basically made these short videos, which first appeared on Vine, which no longer exists. But it was a really good thing when it was in existence. There were 6-second videos trainings to show different things that you could build. And so they were essentially fix-it hacks for your home. They were really enticing because they used stop motion animation. If you don't know what that is, it's just a series of photographs that you put together to make a video. Really easy, really simple to use. And I read that they actually just did all of this from their iPhone, essentially. So that just shows another great thing about this, is that you don't really need a lot of fancy equipment to have a successful campaign. And so essentially, like it says, what they did is they were selling their products by marketing the end result. So they were really creative with their campaign and what they wanted to do with it. And so I'm going to show here just in a second what one looks like, if I can. Oh, I don't think I did it. Nope. But I will send it to everyone via email. But you'll be able to see that there were just really quick videos that they posted on Vine. When Vine shut down, the reason why their campaign was still so successful was because they were able to cross-channel it for other platforms. Their content was able to be posted on Instagram and on Facebook and still have the same purpose, the same meaning behind it. So their key takeaways from this was they used hashtags for their post, which was hashtag Lowe's Fix in 6. And so that's something that you want to ensure that you have for your social media campaign. Have a hashtag that is cross-channel, that you are promoting to all of your audience to use at the end of your post. So one example that we can do is something that we worked with Hope for the Future on was the I'm a Catholic School Kid campaign. And so that was our hashtag I'm a Catholic School Kid, and that was easy for everyone to remember. It was cross-channel, and so it worked really well with that type of campaign. Another thing to, like I said, you don't have to have a lot of expensive equipment or have great amount of money to put together a quality social media campaign. Show your customers rather than tell, which is a really good thing to, or the best thing to have in your campaign, really showing your customers, having it visual rather than just telling them. Using social media apps that are pioneer. So they use Facebook's 360-degree video and tap and pause video. So using your social media channels and all the tools that they have to offer is really important. Spreading your content across as many social media networks. Again, having content that is cross-channel promotion, even if it originates with one platform. So like I said, even though it originated on Vine ceased to exist, they were still able to use it on other platforms and still succeed. Make sure the press knows what you're up to, which is stuff that we've been educating all of you on as we've been going along through these webinars, how to get your school and your events in front of the press's eyes. And then it's okay to keep doing what works. So they continued their Lowe's Fix and Six videos while they were on Vine, but they're still strong today, even though it doesn't exist. And they're still able to use it across all these different social media channels. So every social media campaign is going to be different. They're all going to have different types of content, different purposes, but having these pillars essentially in your campaign is going to help you for it to be successful. And it's really important to just go in it with an open mind and understanding that you might change your content as you go along, because along the way you will find what works for your audience and what doesn't work. So always go into it with an open mind and understanding that things can be changed. And you can go back to the drawing board and find different methods that will work for you as best as possible, or will work for your audience. But yeah, so that is for social media campaigns. And now we're going to open the floor to questions. Let me just end this for everyone tuning in online. Okay. All right, any questions for our two viewers?
Regarding the advertising, I think I misunderstood at first. I was kind of using a general sense of the word advertising. Like you're advertising a product. We're talking about quite specifically buying ad space somewhere else. So, I'm very unfamiliar with Facebook actually. But how do you start? Like, where do you go? How do you know who you're advertising to? Or...
So the lookalike audience is a great place to start, because you know that audience is already one that's engaged with your schools. So if you're trying to reach the same type of audience, then that's certainly something that you can do, is to just create one that looks like the fans and followers on your page. You can do the same thing on Facebook and Instagram. Ads are actually connected. So when you start an ad on Facebook, it will naturally duplicate on Instagram in its own format, unless you select for it not to, because they're owned by the same entity. Is there a button that goes like on the page that says, I want to buy the ad, basically? Okay. It's called Ads Manager. And so we can send like screenshots of where, and just circle the points of action that you can take.
I'm trying to figure it out. I just never stopped thinking that's a thing.
Yeah.
I mean, I see them, but
yeah. Well, so anytime you see a post that says sponsored, it's an ad. Sometimes they'll show up in the feed along the side of your Facebook page. And Instagram and Twitter, they just show up naturally in your feed. And sometimes Twitter is really fairly unobvious, because it's a tweet and it just says sponsored real small at the bottom. And sometimes it's a little more obvious because it's a straight up TV commercial essentially. But it's the little sponsored notes are what indicate that it's an ad. And sometimes people pay attention to that, sometimes they don't. So it just kind of appears naturally within your feed. But yeah, you can go and create, and it takes you step by step. So one of the more important things is selecting what your goal is going to be. So it'll take you step by step to showcase, if you want. Sometimes it's just for brand awareness. So if you want more people to see the ad, just to see that you exist, then that's one thing. If you want more people to like the page, that's something that you can really easily see, because every day you should be getting it. If you're reaching the right audience and at the right times, you will see a constant flow of increasing page likes. And you can go and check in to that ads manager each day to see how much you're paying per day. If you do kind of there are several different ways. I mean, we can dive deeper into the step-by-step process of creating that, because you can do like a cost per click. So you only want to pay X amount, like 10 cents per click every time someone clicks on your page, and you'll spend up to $100 in a month. Or you can do it where you spend that amount and just pay whatever it takes. It'll vary depending how many people are seeing that ad. But I would say that the two most important things are the goal of the ad, and then the audience that you're trying to reach. Because you really don't want to make it just completely general and have I'll reach anyone from the ages of 16, or I don't even think you can advertise to under 16. I think it starts at 18, 18 to 70 plus. You're really not targeting anyone. So you're targeting.
You sort of pick your demographics based on cost. So how does reach go in terms of, is it sort of the same way I wanted to apply to as part of the city or the entire city?
Yeah. So you can literally write in zip codes. So if you want to reach only the people in your area, you can write the 2 or 3 zip codes that are in your closest vicinity. You can do it by, I'll use like the Cibolo and Schertz area, for example. So there are like 6 different cities, like Selma, Schertz, Universal City, Cibolo, New Braunfels, that you could include if you're looking to have that large of a region. You can type it in that way, and that you really can choose you could choose an age demographic of like 25 to 27 if you wanted to. And it tells you how many people are the anticipated reach once you select all of those things, as far as interests and age group and gender and the location. It tells you how many people that you can expect to reach every day. Mm-hmm.
And regarding the analytics piece you were diving into, was that all that data was compiled by Facebook and shared with you, and that was, maybe it was in the content page and all that, that was Facebook?
Yeah.
Do Instagram and Twitter give you the same sort of analytics?
They do. Instagram's is a little bit, they don't paint that picture as beautifully as Facebook does, but it's because Facebook's been doing it longer. However, there are we can send out links to a lot of third-party vendors. They're free, like Hootsuite and Sprout Social. I don't know if they have a free option, but it's not very expensive per month. TweetDeck, those kind of things, and they'll pull the analytics for you for any account. So you can put all 3 of your accounts. We use Sprout Social. So we have all of the accounts that we use. So say we want to pull Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter, and we can look essentially at all of those same analytics for those 3 platforms and how they're performing.
And changing subjects, regarding hashtags, and this is probably just my problem, but I find it hard to believe that people search hashtags. That's a real thing. So actually, I don't find myself doing that ever. So
I think it's specific per channel. Facebook, you won't see as many hashtags on Facebook. I think the most we ever use on a given post is 2 or 3. Instagram,
30 on Instagram.
Right. Instagram is really where it originated because it's so visual heavy. And to be able to find the content you're looking for, that is how they started to be able to track that. So you can use as many hashtags as you really want on Instagram, which we encourage. We will develop an actual list of maybe 15 to 20 hashtags that are curated for a specific client that we find that works best, that gets the most viewership, that those in that audience are looking for those specific hashtags daily. And so we'll develop that list and post them either as a comment or even included in the copy of the post on Instagram. And that just increases your visibility per post. For Facebook, again, like I said, not so much. With that, it's just more of what we find that works best is just tagging other schools or entities or people even, essentially. When you actually tag their handle, it seems to get more viewership that way. But yeah.
So I think in Instagram too, like when you can follow particular hashtags, those come into your feed kind of similarly as ads do, kind of unassumedly. And sometimes you'll see your competitors post or like another school's post that you might, so you can see, I think that's helpful because you can see what they're doing as well. And maybe if you get an idea, if they're doing something better, then you can do it even better. Or if they're doing something differently, or you can look at like what you shouldn't do when other people have that same, especially when it's like a geographical thing, like a suburb or area of the city, something like that. So I think it's interesting for those purposes as well.
But yes, it is more recent, definitely something more recent in social media channels. And I think another thing that talking about those third-party analytics programs that you can use. So like we said, Hootsuite is one, Buffer is one. I think Buffer now you might have to start paying to use or to receive analytics, and then Sprout Social is another one. Those are also that we've mentioned before that they're scheduling platforms. So if you can schedule on Facebook ahead of time. That way, say you want to schedule your posts out for the next weeks or month, you certainly can do so strictly from Facebook. But if you Instagram, I don't think Instagram allows it yet. You can't schedule from Instagram itself, but through these third-party programs, you can link your Facebook and your Instagram to it and schedule from there. I think Hootsuite is the only one that can post directly to Instagram from its platform. The other ones will send you a push notification on your phone just saying, hey, it's time to post. So you can go in and manually do it. But those are also scheduling platforms to consider using. I don't have any questions online. Did you have any other questions, Gabriel? No? All right. Well, thank you everyone for joining us. We were really happy to do an in-person one, and this is something that we'll send out an email, of course, but we do want to start doing these more in person. If we can start gathering a bigger audience for it, we definitely would want to, because just we feel in person is a great way to have a discussion, have questions thrown out that maybe you have, and we can really answer those in depth. And in person always just really fun. That way we can get to know y'all and see all of y'all's faces and know you personally. But thank you again for tuning in. I will send all the information from today, the presentation, the webinar itself, and all the other tips that we promised to send y'all. I will send that tomorrow. But thank you for joining us.